Ooh, this is fire. This is fire.
Mickey.
This is actual
Mickey,
fire.
Mickey, what are you doing?
This house is on fire. This is fire.
Mickey,
This is fire.
Jesus Christ, every time we play a game, you let your house
go.
fire.
You gotta run. Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, I doubt that. Hunt Showdown is a slow-paced, high-tension, free-for-all shooter. It pits up to 10 players against each other in an effort to secure a bounty before everyone else, and then make it to extraction. It's rare that I come across a game that gets me instantly addicted, but Hunt definitely falls into that category. That being said, it is an early access game with some apparent issues, but let's get into it. Hunt's gameplay loop consists of selecting from one of several random daily contracts, locating and killing the target, then reaching extraction with the bounty you picked up off the body. You can do all this by yourself or with a friend. And at any time during the match, you can end up running into other players. But don't try to be nice, because there's no reason to leave another player standing unless you want your bounty stolen. Use your dark sight to speed along the search. It displays clues through walls, which you'll need to reach and scan to narrow down the boss's location on the map. It takes 3 clues to pinpoint the spot. The only 2 bounties in the game right now are the Butcher and the Spider, 2 horrific creatures that are probably going to give me nightmares tonight. It can get a bit repetitive killing the same bosses over and over again, but there will be at least one more boss coming in the near future. But the gruesome design of the enemies and bosses is already fantastic. The Spider is an appalling amalgamation of awfully abysmal arms, affecting all with awkward anxiety achieved through assailing afflictions and agonizing asphyxiation but annihilated with an abundance of ammunition. Anyways, what I mean is that it's so fast you'll barely be able to keep a beat on it. At a distance, it can spit a poisonous cloud, but get too close and it might pounce.
No! I don't want that.
To effectively kill it, you'll want a quick rifle like a Winfield, and some decent aim. Fire also works wonders if you can manage to hit it with a lamp or a Molotov. Then you've got the Butcher, the persistent giant. Slower than the Spider, but more aggressive, and still quick enough to be hot on your heels if you don't keep on the move. It's got a powerful melee attack for hunters that get too close.
Oh shit, dude, he caught me on fire immediately. What?
And the ability to hurl a fireball at you. But sometimes he has a few issues with accuracy. Use shotguns and explosives on this monster to take him down fast. Once you finally kill one of these 2 bosses, you can begin banishment. This process must be completed before you can pick up a bounty, but the second you start it, the location is displayed on the map for everyone else to see. It takes a few minutes, so dig in and get ready for other players to rush in and try to steal it from you. Once you've grabbed a bounty, make your way to the nearest extraction. But here's where things can get even rougher. When holding a bounty, your exact location is also displayed on the map and is visible through players' dark sight. To counter this, you're given enhanced dark sight. Any players within 100 meters will show orange through any amount of walls, so you'll know who's coming. But you've only got 10 seconds of vision, so use it sparingly. The players and bosses aren't the only things you need to worry about. There's plenty of other enemies scattered around the map, such as zombies, armoreds, hellhounds, and more. The Water Devil is especially creepy in my opinion. Though players are a much bigger threat, you'll still want to be careful about drawing aggro. It's possible to find yourself overwhelmed by too many enemies. Plus, some of the deadlier enemies can block off routes, or even stand on top of a clue, so you might have to deal with them before you can proceed. In those cases, be as fast as possible. You don't want to stick around too long after making more noise than a dump truck driving through a nitroglycerin plant. All these enemies do provide rewards for killing, but nothing even close to what you'll get for extracting a bounty. If you end up dying, you'll lose your hunter and all of his equipped gear. But you can buy new hunters and weapons in between matches in the menu. But if you do manage to make it out alive with a bounty, you'll get a nice chunk of XP and money. XP goes towards leveling up your hunter, and as you level, you'll be able to select from a wide assortment of different traits that increase your abilities. Some are simple, such as being able to equip an extra consumable, but some are serious game changers, like increased stamina or fanning the hammer, which is great when combined with a Caldwell chain pistol. Successful hunts also increase your bloodline rank, but in order to rank up faster, you'll want to retire your hunters. When a hunter reaches level 25, it can be retired. You'll keep all of his guns and equipment and get a very large amount of bloodline rank, but you'll be sacrificing a powerful hunter that you worked hard to build up. You can continue leveling a hunter past 25 all the way up to 50 to get an even bigger bloodline rank boost, but that's risky, as you might just die and lose it all. But hey, if you want to unlock all those guns and traits, you're going to have to take a lot of risks. And if you're feeling up to it, you can prestige at rank 100 and start from scratch. It took me quite a while to reach max rank, and I'm probably not going to prestige since I'm actually not that good at the game. But it's still a hell of a lot of fun. Although Hunt only has one game mode, it stays fresh because of the progression system and the variation of in-game encounters. Sometimes you'll get lucky and it'll be smooth sailing. Sometimes you'll find yourself thrust into an intense gunfight struggling for your life. And other times, you might be dead before you even know what hit you. It's a huge pain in the ass spending a ton of money on a hunter and equipment only to lose it before you can even get a shot off. But that's kind of just the nature of the game. As you play more often, you'll learn better routes throughout the map, and how to avoid detection as much as possible. And just remember, sometimes you'll be the one who gets the drop, so try not to get too upset about dying. But no matter what, you'll never really feel safe, and that's because you're not. Hunt Showdown features an extensive collection of 19th century firearms to make you feel like a badass gunslinger. While there's not actually a ton of different guns, there's many different variants of each gun that allow them to fill different roles. Some guns have blades or bayonets that allow it to double as a melee weapon, freeing up one of your tool slots. Some have suppressors that decrease sound, but also damage. And some have scopes to turn you into a long-range sniper with questionable aim. Each variant feels like its own weapon, so you'll never really feel like the arsenal is lacking. Bullet travel time depends on the cartridge, and the damage model means it usually doesn't take too much to kill players. But with some guns like the Winfield, you can find your opponent taking a few more shots to the body than you'd probably like. So if you want reliable kills, instead of rapid firing, you should slow down and line up your shot to the head. One bullet from any gun to the dome piece is an instant kill. The same goes for some of the AI enemy types, but not for all. For some, you might want to bring something with a little more bang. Each gun feels phenomenal when firing. They've got some serious impact behind them, especially with shotguns. Blasting someone into the next dimension with a Caldwell rival is on par with peeling the protective plastic off a brand new cell phone. Not only that, but the guns look as good as they perform. Every little detail is modeled in stunning beauty. And the dirt-covered textures show wear and tear that makes them look like authentic hell monster killing guns that took a few too many plunges into the Louisiana swamp water. Then, of course, there's the weapon animations. Reloading or cocking a gun is slow, but it feels like it's got weight behind it, and is more encouragement to aim accurately. The animations might not be as flashy as something like Killing Floor 2, but they're realistic and work great for what the game is trying to achieve. Aside from guns, you've got plenty of other deadly equipment. Melee weapons come in many forms, but my favorite has to be the cavalry saber, which you should only use if you're ever going to run at somebody screaming.
Over here?
Oh, you better get back here, boy. I got a cavalry saber with your name on it.
No! No! Get away from me, boy! I don't want none!
There's also plenty of throwable items such as dynamite, grenades, Molotovs, and much more. I recommend trying the pissed off jar of bees. There's one, and two. Okay, this might have backfired a little bit. But as cool as all the weapons are, there are some issues with balancing. Certain weapons such as the fully automatic Mosin Nagant Avdaman, or the terrifying Nitro Express rifle, seem a bit overpowered. Depending on the situation, it can be pretty hard to come out on top when your opponent has one of these, even with their high price tags and fairly poor ammo economy. That's not to say you still can't excel with a cheaper weapon, but the extra boost in firepower does make everything a lot easier. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing some weapons whacked with a Nerf hammer a couple more times, but then again... Yeah, you know what? I think I want to keep it. Before I begin the next chapter of the video, I'd like to state that the vast majority of footage you've seen so far was recorded on the 2.3 build of the game. The 2.4 update was released on September 13th, and this video should be up the same day. This update included a number of bug fixes, new weapons, and most importantly, performance improvements. While my average frame rate has noticeably increased, graphical fidelity, even on high settings, seems to have decreased. Textures look like they've taken the biggest hit. But rather than rewrite this video's script for a third time and delay it even longer, I figured it would be better to add a disclaimer noting that what you're about to see isn't necessarily representative of what you can currently play in the game. The game still looks and plays very well, but 2.4 definitely made some sacrifices. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the video. Everything in Hunt looks just beautiful. Admittedly, I have to play on the lowest settings to maintain a good frame rate, but I'll talk more about performance and optimization in a moment. Just keep in mind all the footage in this video is on low settings. Textures, objects, and atmospheric effects and lighting, even on low, are some of the best I've ever seen. The sheer incredible attention to detail in every little area of the map is mind-boggling. Trees and foliage are dense and realistic, and details that would normally be 2D textures in most games are 3D objects in Hunt. And I should also note that the detail in textures actually does vary. Certain objects and guns have great textures, while some areas of the map do not. Nothing looks particularly bad, but the visuals would be even better with consistent texture quality across the board. Now, as for how the game actually runs, my computer specifications are as follows. Not exactly top of the line, but also not bad either. I can run almost every game out right now with a solid frame rate on at least medium settings. However, Hunt definitely is an exception. My frame rate on all lowest settings at 1080p varies from 60 down to as low as 30 depending on what's happening on screen. Normally I'd be fine with below average performance since I spent the majority of my life playing games on a PS3. However, sudden frame drops or stutters have affected gameplay for me in some situations. For instance, here you can see the game freezing for a moment when I'm about to kill this player. Now, I'm not entirely sure if my death was caused by the game freezing, or just my fucking atrocious aim. Honestly, it could be either. But frame drops and stuttering is still pretty unpleasant. Considering the game already has a very solid foundation, I would say that performance should be one of the game's priorities for development. It definitely has improved since it launched in early access earlier this year, but it still has a long way to go. So if bad performance is a deal breaker for you, only go for this game if you have a powerful rig.
With the Sennheiser 598s, I'm able to own the battlefield.
Shut the fuck up. One of the most important aspects of Hunt Showdown is sound. Paying attention to your surroundings and listening for different noises can be the difference between victory and defeat. There's sound triggers placed across the entire map in the form of animal pens, ducks or crows, broken glass, and many more. Getting too close to these will easily alert nearby hunters of your location, putting you in a serious bind. And it's not even just sound traps you need to be wary of. Enemy AI also make loud and distinct noises when attacking, so staying low and avoiding detection from them too is usually a pretty safe bet. And of course, gunshots. They can be heard from a very far distance, so that makes using melee weapons or suppressed guns a viable strategy for staying quiet. Just remember that even those still make a decent amount of noise at close range. And as for how the sounds sound, if that makes any sense, well, let's just say they don't cut any corners in this department either. All the enemies in the game sound creepy as hell. It's a real encouragement to wear your brown pants. In fact, just about everything in this game is designed to be creepy. The sound when you start a hunt, the suspense of scanning a clue. Hell, even a bunch of crows flying away. And those gunshots I mentioned earlier, well, they're a big part of what make the guns in this game so satisfying. Each shot has a real punch to it. Makes you feel like you're actually firing a rifle. However, despite having a fantastic sound design, there still are some issues with how these sounds work. For example, when a gun is fired on the other side of a wall or object, it tends to become muffled. This would be realistic, but the muffling effect is far too strong, making it sound like the shot was much further away than it actually is. This can lead to misjudgment of an enemy's position in a firefight. And as one final note for audio, the reason I didn't mention music is because there's really not a soundtrack in Hunt at all. There's 2 songs that play in the main menu, but that's it. But those 2 songs do happen to be really fucking cool. While I know that music shouldn't be played during the game because it would distract from audio cues, I still think there should be a few more tracks in the menus. So just keep in mind that all the music throughout this video, except for this song, is not from the game. Though, other than those few issues, audio in Hunt Showdown is still fantastic. My philosophy when it comes to early access games is that regardless of the level of completion, it can still be judged and criticized as much as any other game. I know there's a big blue banner saying it's not finished on the front page, but we're still talking about a product being sold to people for money. An early access title isn't enough to invalidate criticisms made before the game is finished. However, that being said, I do appreciate games that do early access right. And those games are ones that give you more than just a promise. They have actual cohesive gameplay and feel mostly finished. They just might need that extra boost in money to finish adding content or polishing up the presentation. They should also be very open with development and lay out their exact plan for what they intend to add to the game. Hunt is a perfect example of that. I made this video because I really like the game and personally find it worth the money even in its current state. But I do also see the promise for this game's future, and I like the direction they're taking it in. A lot of people would probably disagree with me, but that's totally fine. If you're deciding on whether or not you want this game, it really boils down to your personal preference. To anyone who's looking for a more immersive and methodical shooter that challenges more than just your aim, I can wholeheartedly recommend Hunt Showdown. Though if you also want perfect performance with no frame drops and expect a completely finished game, then it might be best to wait a little bit longer. But for me, I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna go kill a giant